This is Coach Jason Ballard, and I'm a business wingman. Over the years, I've learned a lot from working in our family construction business, serving as a senior officer in the United States Air Force, and running 12 different organizations around the world. Many people helped me get to where I am today, and it's my mission in life to serve as a personal wingman to others. That's what this podcast is all about, providing knowledge, tools, resources, and mentorship to help people soar to their highest altitude. Welcome back to the Soar Higher podcast. This is your host, Coach Jason, and thanks for being with us today. We've got a really cool session lined up for you today. Today, we're going to be talking about celebrating success. That's right. We're going to be talking about celebrating success, why that is important, and how that can be a real game changer for you in your business or your life and wherever you're at. It is that time of year, holiday season, and this is a time of reflection. It's a time to think about all the things that, went well this year, maybe some things that didn't go so well. But I often find this time of year, everybody gets really busy, and end of year closeout, everybody gets busy planning holiday parties, everybody's busy shopping and getting all the wonderful gifts you're trying to get your family and friends and coworkers. And this is a time of year where the busyness of the season, we get caught up in that, and we fail to kind of recognize all of the powerful, important things that have been going on over the past year. How did we get to where we are today? 12 months of a year has come. We're at this point. How did we get to this point? And people get just caught up in the end of year closeout kinds of things and all of the things that surround this time of year, and really kind of lose sight of what it took to get us here and celebrating that success. A lot of times leaders get focused on what didn't go well, what were the lessons learned, and what are we not going to do going forward, but they don't spend a lot of time on celebrating success. And they lose track of these things throughout the year, and a lot of times don't write them down, don't kind of stow them away for later. And they just a lot of successes, a lot of wins, the small wins, even some of the bigger wins, just kind of fade away as things evolve throughout your business year. And so today I want to emphasize the importance of taking time, making time, prioritizing time to celebrate that success and the power that has in it and the impact that can make on the people around you, especially your employees, your shareholders, even doing this in your family, even your family members, right? There are a lot of people and a lot of things involved in success. And as leaders, I think it's our job to make sure that we go through this process and intentionally understand what successes we did create. How did we exceed those expectations? Did we go farther than we thought we were before? Even if you didn't, and you just kind of did the average this year, you still had wins and successes that need to be celebrated. And so this is really, really important. And I want to spend some time on this podcast walking you through why that's important and how much of an impact this can make when you actually make the time to do this. This is something that I learned early on in my career. This is something that I incorporated into my annual cadence of things when I meet with the leadership team, and how to make this part of the culture. Make this part of your culture. And so when you think about it, there's really 6 different things that really that you can benefit from doing that. I want to go over those 6 things with you today because I think these are just so important for everybody in your organization to understand. Number 1, why it's important to celebrate success. It forces you to stop and quit giving the excuse of we're busy. It forces you to just pause in a moment in time and focus on one thing. And that one thing is, what were our successes this year? What were our wins this year? What went really well this year? What happened good that we didn't expect to happen? Who surprised us this year in our team? Who surprised us in our customers? Who surprised us in this journey that when, they contributed something, something happened and it catapulted us in ways that we hadn't maybe even planned on, right? So we're human beings, and all human beings have emotions. They have feelings. And a lot of times leaders get caught up in those emotions. I feel like things are going good, so we're just going to keep going. I feel like things maybe aren't going so good. I was talking to somebody the other day and they told me this and that and the other happened. And I just feel we may need to look at things differently. I feel we may need to maybe take things in a different direction. And a lot of times we get caught up in those emotions and those feelings as human beings. And those can sometimes be traps that we can fall in, right? Whereas when you take time to focus on what were our successes, sit down and concentrate and move emotions out of the way, put feelings out of the way, put gossip out of the way, put temporary things that come and go in and out of our lives out of the way, and we can focus on the facts. What actually happened? What were the numbers? What were the statistics? And what were the number of projects we worked? How many we worked? How well we worked them? How many times we delivered things ahead of schedule? Then you can really boil things down to real data that you can start connecting the dots on, right? Distilling this stuff down. There's all million and one things that happen throughout the year that we sometimes lose track of because there's just so much stuff going on. This allows you to distill things down, simplify things, really boil things down to brass tacks. That is certainly one benefit. Number two reason for celebrating success is it allows you to take inventory. Because I promise you, as a leader, you do not know all of the things going on in your organization. If you look at marketing, you look at sales, you look at operations, you look at customer service, you look at HR and technology departments, you look across the entire organization. I guarantee you, if you're a leader at the top, at the VP, C-suite level, you do not know all of the things that have happened in your company. You know what people told you, you know what you see, you know what you heard, but you may not know all of the wins, all of the heroic moments that your people threw a life preserver into the water and saved the day on any particular thing, right? And so taking inventory of this, having your team provide you their input and on top of your own observations, the things that you yourself observed and tracked, can go a long way. You're going to learn by taking inventory, you're going to learn a lot more about what really truly did happen and who was involved in the dynamics of that. You're going to learn a lot about your company that you may not have known or realized just in the day-to-day business of the journey you're on. It's interesting, if you read the book Positioning, The Battle for Your Mind. This is a book written by Al Ries and Jack Trout. This is really about marketing and about capturing your attention in your marketing. But there's some really powerful things inside of that book that they highlight is that in the psychology of marketing, the psychology of how we think about things, right? And it's important when you're taking inventory of all the things that were going on, is that your brain is only able to store away so much information. And so when you read the book, they attribute your brain to like a Rolodex. So have like a index cards in there, right? Your brain, there's low interest items that your brain remembers and high interest items your brain remembers. The low interest items, you only have room in your brain for about 5 or 6 of those, because you just can't remember all of those things. If it's not important to you, it's not top of mind to you, it's not a priority to you, you remember less of those things. Now, on the high side, if something is highly important to you, then you have unlimited capacity in your brain to remember those things, right? And so if you think about that, and your brain is kind of like a Rolodex, all these things going on in your company, stuff comes and goes too fast for you to remember all those things. It's considered in the category of the low interest. It's important for a period of time, and then something else fills your brain the next week, and then something new fills your brain the next week, and then you lose track of all those things, right? By taking stock of all the successes in your company and focusing on that, you're creating a situation in your brain where your brain is now convinced these are all high interest items. Now your brain knows to think about it differently, and it creates more space in your brain to remember more of those things. So when you're taking inventory here, your brain is now allowing you to put more of those successes in your brain. And so taking inventory of that, you will come to realize, I promise you, if you do this drill, that at the end of this drill, there will be a whole lot more successes. There'll be pages of successes. There's a lot more positive things that happen in your company than you realized. Stuff you forgot about, stuff you didn't even know existed. And you take a step back and you look at all of these things once you lay them all out on all the pages of stuff you're laying this out on, and you realize, wow, there's a lot more stuff here than I thought. And that's kind of the point. There's always more than you realize. All right. It also helps us reset our minds. It allows us to get out of the day to day. It allows us to focus differently, and allows us to reset our brains, especially towards the end of the year. The end of the year is a great time to celebrate, to go through this exercise and to celebrate these successes, because it does reset our minds. It gets our minds now off of the busyness of the holidays and just all the thousands of impressions of things we are exposed to every day, the commercials, the ads, the breaking news on TV, all the distractions, all the busyness of the world around us. And it helps us reset our minds around something positive and something real and something exciting. And I think we can all, agree that we need more of that in our world today. All right. Number three, it gives you data that can be compiled and shared, right? So taking inventory in number 2 allows us to kind of brain dump all of these things from the different areas of our company. And in number 3, it allows you to compile all that, kind of group all that, and really make sense of that, really kind of study that data, understand that data. It allows you and forces you to ask questions about that data. Well, I didn't know that happened. When did that happen? Who did that? Well, why did we do it that way, right? It just connects you and your leadership and your team on a whole nother level that you may not have connected or communicated before. And it also allows you to kind of get organized around all this data so that you can eventually share it with the people that you want to share it with, i.e. your employees, your shareholders, your board members, community partners, whatever that may be, but, certainly your employees. It can also be used to determine future plans. If you're tracking all of your successes and what it took to be successful in that journey, then that helps you understand how well your team can adapt, what they can and can't do. You'll be surprised at what your team can do when you really look at these things and study these things. And it can help you with future planning. It helps you kind of figure out maybe who the heroes were in the organization, who may be ready for a promotion. It helps you figure out where to maybe think about aligning your bonuses or incentives. It also, really important factor here, it also allows you to leverage benchmarks. All right. So let me explain this a little bit. If you have areas of excellence in your company where one group, one team, one project, one particular project that went well, like all these successes, there's a reason why they were super successful. There's a reason why they may have exceeded expectations, right? And you want to harness that as a leader. What happened to make that happen? Who stepped up? What frameworks did you use to do that? What best practices did you implement that can be shared? And so by taking inventory every year, by looking at your successes and preparing to celebrate those successes allows you to benchmark all the really good things that happened in your company and maybe leverage them in other areas of your company, right? Because you don't want your company working in a silo, every group kind of doing their own thing and not sharing and collaborating. Like if really good things are happening in one area of the business and you have some breakthroughs, some innovation, you have some major obstacles that were overcome and some really good success, you definitely want to share that, kind of bottle that up and benchmark that for the rest of the team to harness that and learn from that and excel from that. Number 4, it drives employee engagement. So when you think about successes and all the things that were going on in the company, you have to remember that employees, for the most part, are very task-oriented people. Even if they're people, they're still focused on their job, their responsibilities, their goals, their tasks, making their boss happy, working with, different members of the team and getting things done on time and doing things at a quality level. And they're working in their space. They're focused on the things that they're focused on. And sometimes, that puts blinders on your people to where, they may not be paying attention to things going on in other areas of the business, right? They're focused on their space, their lane, and doing the best that they need to do to, please their boss and have an opportunity to grow in the business as a result of their hard work and efforts, right? And so celebrating success and communicating that and sharing that success with your employees is powerful, because when you share that with everybody, they're seeing the bigger picture. They're connecting the strategic dots that you are putting out there, and you're informing them of all of the successes that are going on in other areas of the company. And most of the time, your employees are like, wow, I didn't know we were doing that in marketing. Wow, I didn't know we did a project on that over there in research and development. I didn't know we, signed that customer over there that's doing, X, Y, and Z things in the world. You're going to see, I didn't know that. Well, that's really cool. Well, that sounds exciting. I'd like to learn more about that, right? You're pulling people out of their day-to-day, pulling them out of the weeds that they are crawling around in their day-to-day work, and you're exposing them to the greater aspects of the company. You're enlarging their vision. You're showing them all the different things that are going on and the things that they're doing and how important they are, right? It helps people establish another level of confidence in what they're doing and why they're doing that and how that may connect to other things in the company. Because sometimes employees kind of get in their silos and they may not understand that what they're doing has impact in other parts of the company or even maybe externally in the company, right? It also allows your people to have a greater appreciation of the company holistically. It may even change their mind about people they may see or work with or talk to on occasion that they may not know very well, may not have maybe their first impression of somebody wasn't a great impression, but they see other things going on. They see successes. They see other people in a different light. And they're like, wow, I didn't know that they were working on that. I didn't know they knew how to do that, or I didn't know they knew that person. And it just exposes them to a whole nother level and gives them a greater appreciation of the other people, the teammates, your capabilities as a company, etc. Right? It connects them to something bigger than themselves and what they may be personally aware of. And that's really important, right? Because that drives engagement. When they see the bigger picture, when they see what they're doing and how that connects to other things, and when they see the rest of the company succeed, even in their own area. Let's say they had some setbacks in their work center or their department, and maybe things didn't go perfectly to plan in their area, but other areas of the company are thriving. They don't get down on themselves as, well, this is not a great company. The company culture is not great. We're not doing great. Well, you're not doing great maybe based on your perception of what you see, but when you see these bigger aspects of the company, like, wow, this company really is good. It really is doing more than I thought it was. Wow, this isn't, something just in my department. There's greater things going on across the company. It just really brings people together and engages them, pulls them in a lot deeper than they would if you didn't celebrate success and pull them into that, right? Number five. Number five reason to celebrate success is recognition. All too often as a business coach, I'm in people's organizations and people are just busy. And even if they have recognition programs, sometimes those can get watered down. Some of those can become superficial. And there's just a lack of recognizing what people do. All too often, when I walk around and talk to employees in businesses, I often hear and see, at least perception wise, that a lot of employees don't think their bosses know. The CEO knows what's going on, knows what they do. In fact, I'll give you a story. I've got a client in the healthcare industry, and she's a VP in an organization, and they had an offsite, and it was a kind of an end of year offsite, kind of celebrating success, talking about some goals and priorities for the next year, and kind of resetting things going forward. It was a good meeting, but in there, they brought the CEO in, and he came to speak to the team, this particular department, for about 15, 20 minutes. And he was visiting with them, and he came in and says, hey, this is really great. Thank you for the opportunity to come in and speak to you. I've been really excited to connect with you guys. We have a lot of stuff going on in the company, and we're going to really need to lean on you. We're going to have to be investing in you and your people and what you're doing and your development, because we're going to be growing about 30 to 35% in this part of the company. And I need to understand how I need to help you and support you so you can be able to do that to the best of your ability. And the lady that I work with that's at the VP level. She said people's jaws just drop. Like, one, the CEO knows us. The CEO knows what we do and recognizes that we're a critical part of success going forward, and is here asking us, what do you need me to do to help you do that? And man, she said that was a huge morale booster. People were excited. They just had a whole new perspective. And so when you think about celebrating success as a leader, recognizing those people and sharing those successes, sharing, these types of things reinvigorates people more than you will ever know, right? People need to know you care. And when you take time to inventory all your successes, put all that together and share all those things in a very genuine way, doing that in a very deliberate way, in a very thankful way, appreciative way, people feel like you care. They feel like you're connected, and they'll be surprised, just like in the story I just mentioned. They'll be surprised at how much you know, because like I didn't know he knew we did that. I didn't know that our leadership, had insight to this particular thing or another, right? And it shows them you care. It shows them you've taken a lot of time out of your busy schedule to recognize them and all of their hard work and show them how impactful that really truly is. You give them all the credit. As a leader, anytime there's success anywhere in the organization, obviously everybody in the organization gets all the credit for doing that, right? Recognizing them and understanding what it took and explaining to them that you understand what it took, the overtime, the longer days, the over and above expectations, contributions that went into that. I mean, it just is powerful in recognizing your people, giving them all the credit for those things on those kind of levels. It just reconnects those people. It re-energizes those people to the mission and what you're there for, gets them out of the weeds again and reconnects them to the why, the purpose of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how this is making a difference in the world, right? And everybody wants to make a difference in the world. Nobody wants to come to work and just, be a cog in the wheel. Nobody wants to come to work and just do a 9 to 5 thing and go home and feel like, well, I earn my paycheck, go home, do what I want to do. Everybody wants to work with leaders and work in an organization with a culture where they feel like what they do matters. They're valued, they're important, and they're making an impact somewhere. The world is a better place because I showed up to work, worked together with my team, and as a team did some really massively important, cool things that have made a difference. And so that recognition of them and them understanding these successes just really goes to the heart and soul of the employees, to where they're supercharged about coming back. And it's a great tool for retention. It's a great tool to just reconnect. And we all need to be reconnected to the mission. We all need to be reminded of the purpose and the why and why we're here, because we just get so busy in the day to day and we sometimes lose track. And as leaders, there is nothing better you can do than to hit the pause button and re-ground people to truth and to fact and the purpose and the why every single year. Lastly, number 6, it bolsters your continuity. Okay, so if you take inventory of all the successes in your organization, it allows you to kind of chronicle those things, store those things away in your files, and creates continuity, because people come and go. Nobody lasts in a company forever. Leaders come and go, employees come and go, things happen, the world moves at a rapid pace. And as people come and go, you have a continuity. You have a Bible that's based year over year of all these successes, which drives why we do the things we do, right? Instead of, it's just always the way we've done it. When employees are asking questions, when you bring new employees in and some things don't make sense, well, we've always done it that way. Well, no, that's not a good answer, right? Here are the reasons why, because we built these successes, and those successes were based on failures, setbacks, obstacles, lessons learned. Successes, are a result of things evolving over time, right? Nobody goes out there and hits a kill shot in the bullseye every single time the first time. So those successes have a story. There's a reason why those successes are successful and they are on your storyboard of success, is because you've learned some things, and that creates continuity that can be passed on to people as people come and go from department to department, from generation to generation of people. it's a kind of a knowledge base of what worked, what didn't work, so you don't repeat mistakes and repeat history and do things that you've already, cross those bridges you've already crossed and backtrack, right? The other thing it does is it also kind of builds on a legacy, right? It allows you to continue to tell your story and build a legacy of success, right? And so when you take time to celebrate that success and document that success, you're building a legacy of things. And as those things evolve, then the question is, well, here's all the successes for this year. What are the success stories we want to tell next year? What needs to happen to make that happen? And you can help facilitate and drive your legacy as a company, your reputation, the goodwill that you want to put forth out there in the world. And so as we kind of close today, I want to make a recommendation to you. Don't just celebrate success once a year. That's not enough. The world moves too fast. Things change too fast. It's just a rapidly evolving world we live in. Consumer demand is just increasing. It's just too much stuff happens over a 12-month period to just do this once a year. Too much stuff gets lost in that process, right? So I would recommend probably on a quarterly basis. You sit down with your team when you're doing sales reviews, when you're doing KPI reviews on your strategy and goals to see if you're on track. Whatever those successes are, take inventory on a quarterly basis and do company all calls on a quarterly basis. And as you compile the successes and the lessons, you can get in a better cadence of doing this throughout the year versus just once a year. Yeah, so I would highly recommend doing it on a quarterly basis because your people need more reassurance. They need more validation. They need to hear these things more often because it's just the world we live in. It's just too busy to go too long without that. We need to continuously kind of spoon feed these things over a period of time. Keep people plugged in, keep people in the know, and it also sets expectations in a cadence of communication, right? You can get communication from them. You can provide them communication, strategic communication on what's going on in the company and keep them plugged in, right? And the other thing is there's a lot of negativity in the world, right? You watch the news, you read social media, you talk to people, there's just a lot of drama in the world, a lot of just kind of fear in the world, a lot of negativity in the world. And this keeps the company focused on positive things, and intentionally talking about the things that are going well, because I assure you there's a lot more good in the world than makes the news. There's a lot more positive things that are going on in your company than what people realize, right? Because what normally bubbles up to people are the negative things, the things that didn't happen the correct way, and the judgmental things, the critical things. And this allows you to keep a positive tone throughout the entire year for everybody. And so my goal for you today was to be kind of a wedge in your routine and help you realize there's power in driving success and relaying those successes, celebrating those successes, not just talking about them, but celebrating them, rewarding people for it, and cheering people on and encouraging people and keeping that kind of tone. There's real power in doing that on every single level. And when you do that, I promise you, it will make a significant difference. It will set the tone. It will change the culture. It will reduce your issues and problems that take up your time, right? And so highly encourage you to put in tracking, inventorying, and celebrating those successes with the people. It'll make a world of difference for you. So I hope you got a lot of value from that today. Next week, we've got a really, really cool guest on the show, really cool topic to be discussing. We're going to be talking about leadership. Today we're talking about leadership in a different way. Next week, we're going to be talking about leadership in a little bit different way, right? The leadership perfect storm. There's kind of a storm of some things going on in the world around us, in the workforce, of things brewing that are really causing some leaders to have to think differently. And so next week, we're going to be talking about the leadership perfect storm, how to lead a diverse, multi-generational workforce, and unlocking new ways of thinking around that in order to be successful in the future. We've got to continue to be thinking about things differently. We've got different dynamics in the workforce going on that we absolutely have to engage differently than we have in the past. We're going to learn all about that and how to do that by an expert that literally wrote the book on it. So I'm excited for you to meet them. Everybody, have a great week.